Hello students, this is Mrs. Jones. Today I'm going to talk to you about proportions and mixing paint. If you don't have a mixing cup like we talked about in the last lesson, if you don't have a mixing cup, how can you do it mathematically? It's actually some things you already know how to do from a previous math class. It's just applying the skill to mix paint. This example, it says you're mixing NCP 270-271. You need 2 quarts of sprayable material. I made up the mixing ratio, so that's not the exact mixing ratio, but you need 2 parts primer, half part of reducer, 1 part hardener. How much of each ingredient do you need to mix together? So the very first thing you do is you convert your measurements to ounces, and what I mean by that is your 2 quarts. We need to take 2 quarts and convert it into ounces, and you should know how to do that from a previous lesson, that a quart is large, an ounce is small, so this is large to small, means that we're multiplying, and we should know that there's 32 ounces in a quart. So if we multiply that, we get 64 sprayable ounces. That's how much product that we need at the end. So now we're going to set up a proportion. And how we set up a proportion is that all of the stuff on the left hand side has to deal with the mixing ratio. All the stuff that's going to go on the right hand side is an actual measurement. So when I say the ratio, total sprayable ratio, means all of the parts together. 2 parts of primer, a half part of reducer, 1 part hardener, all together would be 3.5 parts. So 3.5 sprayable parts goes there. How many of those parts are actually just primer? Just primer? 2 of them are just primer. See that up here? And then on the right hand side, the only measurement we know is that we know that we need 64 total sprayable ounces. We don't know how many ounces of primer we're going to need. That's what we're solving for. So to solve this, you cross multiply and then divide by your extra number, and you should know how to do that from a previous math class, or even maybe in the springtime when you had me in class. We're going to take 64 times 2 divided by 3.5, and I get a decimal, and it's 36.5. We're going to round it and go ahead and say we need 37 ounces of, and this is primer because we set up our proportion with primer. Perfect. Now we're going to do it again, and we're going to set this proportion up using reducer. A lot of the things stay the same in the proportion. We still have a total of 3.5 parts. How many of those parts are just reducer? It's a half. It's just reducer. So we put 0.5. And we know that we still need a total of 64 sprayable ounces, but we don't know how many of those are going to be reducer. So we're going to put an X there. We cross multiply and divide by the extra number. So we're going to take 64 times 0.5 divided by 3.5. And I get 9.14. We're going to go ahead and round that. It would round to 9 ounces of, and this is reducer. To get the last part, the hardener, it's just a simple subtraction. if we know that we need a total of 64 ounces of material. We just calculated that 37 of those ounces are going to be primer, and that 9 ounces are going to be reducer. Whatever is left is what's going to be the amount for the hardener. So we take 64 and we subtract off those things, and we're going to get 18 ounces of hardener. And if we would add all those together, it's going to get us back to 64 total ounces. All right, let's try to run through one more. I don't want to make these videos too long for anyone, but I think you might need one more to make sure that you understand what's going on. So the very first thing you're going to do is convert your measurement, your 3 quarts in this case, to ounces. And remember, we should know how to do that before from a previous lesson. We're going to multiply it by 32, so we should get 96 ounces. And we are first going to, this one's different. This is 4.5 parts clear, 1 part reducer, 1 part hardener. I mean, it's different, but it's not really different. The total number of parts, 4.5 plus 1 means that there's 6.5 total parts in the ratio. How many of those parts come from just clear coat? 4.5 of them come from clear coat, so we're going to put 4.5. We know that we need 96 sprayable ounces, so that's going to go on the top here. And we don't know how many of those are going to come from clear. So we cross multiply, we divide by our extra number, 9.6 times 4.5 divided by 6.5. We get a decimal, it's okay, we're going to round it. We get 66 ounces of clear coat. Now we're going to set up another proportion, and this time our proportion is going to be with the reducer. Our sprayable number of parts is still 6.5. We need a total of 96 ounces. That's still the same. But how many of the parts actually come from just reducer? 1 part comes from reducer, so we're going to put a 1 right here. And we don't know how many ounces of reducer we're going to use. That's what we're calculating. So we cross multiply and divide by 6.5. And again, we get a decimal. I'm going to go ahead and round it. When we round it, it's going to come out to 15 ounces of reducer. And the last part of this, to find the hardener, we just do a simple subtraction. We know that we needed a total of 96 ounces. 66 of them was going to come from the clear, right? 15 of them is going to be reducer, and we subtract to get that we're going to need 15 ounces of hardener. All right. If you need to go back and look at this video again, please do so. If you have any questions, you can please email me at cjones@ictc.edu. I need you to complete the Google quiz. Make sure you hit submit at the bottom of the Google quiz. Make sure that you click turn in on the Google assignment. All right, I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.